question of a small business person, what's your race? What's your ethnicity? What's your sexual preference? Are you gay? Are you a woman? Now
You didn't tell them for 2 months. That was the explosive moment Senator John Kennedy turned up the pressure on CFPB Director Rohit Chopra during a tense Senate hearing. Kennedy was demanding answers about a data breach involving information connected to roughly 256,000 consumers, and he wanted to know why those affected weren't notified sooner. But that was only the beginning.
You just had a data breach at your agency, is that correct?
We have an insider threat that transferred on an unauthorized basis some emails to their personal email account.
And you were in charge when this happened?
Of course, yes.
Okay. And this wasn't an attack from outside your agency. It came from inside of your agency. Is that correct?
That's right. Our systems were not penetrated. It was not a hack in that way, but we had an employee who worked for us who sent those emails.
The data for 256,000 consumers was breached. Is that correct?
Yeah, we looked through the emails.
But is my number correct?
I believe that's right. Yes, but it was not their. It was not any social security number, birth dates, any of that.
It was their data, though, right?
It was the institution's data, but it had their name, so that's important, and it's a huge problem.
Yeah, it is. You didn't tell the customers that this happened to, the consumers, for 2 months. Is that correct?
Well, we did not have the contact information for them, so we had to work with institutions to figure out who to contact, and we wanted to work in partnership.
But you didn't tell them for 2 months?
Well,
is that correct?
We started the notifications, I believe, last month, but again, we did not know the contact information for them. All we had was certain data elements, and we followed the cybersecurity OMB guidance to make sure that
you can understand, can you not, why consumers might be a little concerned about you having their information. Is that correct?
Oh, of course. The issue of protecting personal data.
Let me ask you about Section 1071, your rule on small business data collection. Under your proposed rule, when a bank loans money to a small businesswoman or a small businessman, you would require the bank to ask that customer first about the customer's race. Is that right?
So just to be clear, the proposal you reference, that has been changed since and has now into the final. The congressional requirement, and we are under a court order, requires race.
Don't filibuster me, Mr.
No, it does require race.
Just answer my questions, okay? Is your rule going to require banks to ask the customer about their race?
So that is in this.
No?
That is in the statute. And
about their race, or is your rule going to require the bank to ask the customer about their ethnicity?
So just to be clear, in the sample form, it allows the borrower to self-identify or refuse.
Just answer my question.
No, I'm trying to be clear.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Your rule would require a bank to ask the question of a small business person, what's your race? What's your ethnicity? What's your sexual preference? Are you gay? Are you a woman? Now that's you can bubble wrap this all you want, but that's what your rule does. Now the customer, particularly in a small town, is going to go, whoa, what's my sexual preference have to do with a loan? And the customer can say, I don't want to answer. But then the bank you're requiring the bank to tell you that they wouldn't answer. And all of this data is going to go to your agency. and we don't have the slightest idea how you're going to use it, except you say you're going to publish it.
Well, we will not get any names at all.
But you're going to have data sets so that if it's possible, you can't tell me it's not possible to have this information known. Why do you want all this information?
I don't.
Why do you want to know what a small businesswoman's sexual preference is?
Kennedy began by asking Chopra whether the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau had suffered a data breach. Chopra confirmed that an employee had transferred emails to a personal email account without authorization, and Kennedy immediately made an important distinction. This wasn't an outside hacker breaking into the agency. It was an insider threat. The information reportedly involved data connected to approximately 256,000 consumers. Chopra said social security numbers and birth dates were not included, but consumer names were part of the information. Kennedy's concern was obvious. If Americans' information is being held by a federal agency, that agency has a responsibility to protect it. Then Kennedy went straight after the notification timeline. He asked Chopra whether affected consumers weren't told about the incident for approximately 2 months. Chopra explained that the CFPB didn't initially have the necessary contact information and had to work with financial institutions to determine who needed to be notified. But Kennedy wasn't letting the issue go. His argument was simple: consumers had their information involved in a breach and they deserved to know what happened. The exchange put the spotlight directly on the CFPB's handling of the incident, and on the question of whether the agency moved quickly enough to protect public trust. But then the hearing took another dramatic turn. Kennedy began questioning Chopra about the CFPB's implementation of Section 1071 and its small business lending data requirements. Kennedy argued that banks could be required to collect sensitive demographic information from small business borrowers, including information about race, ethnicity, sex, and sexual orientation. Kennedy questioned why the government would need such personal information from someone simply trying to secure a business loan. Chopra defended the policy, saying the CFPB was implementing requirements established by Congress and that borrowers could choose to self-identify. But Kennedy remained skeptical that if you want to see more heated congressional confrontations and breaking Senate hearing moments, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next major exchange.
Okay, that's a mischaracterization.
No, it's not.
Of it. Yeah, it is. We
No,
have
it's not.
congressional objectives.
No, it's not.
We had to implement it. People can self-identify. There is no personal
Why do you
information
want to know what a small businesswoman, let's say in a town of 20,000 people, going to her local bank to borrow money? Why do you want to know what her sexual preference is? What business is that of yours?
We sought to implement what the congressional
What business
requirements
is that of
are.
yours? What a small businesswoman does in her bedroom? Who
Again,
appointed you Pope?
again, people are able to self-identify if they wish.
You're
to
making
refuse, they
them.
can. We are not making them.
Yes, you are.
No, we're not.
And
It's
if they
very
don't
clearly-
answer, the bank has got to tell you. And we have no idea how you're going to use this information.
Well, I'm
can't-
happy to
Director
meet with you
Chopra,
about it further.
Director
That's
Chopra.
not. I don't believe that's an.
Director
You can't
Chopra, please.
assure us-
Senator Kennedy, Director Chopra, answer one more time, and then I turn it to Senator Warner, who is on.
Am I
Just
over,
like
am I over again?
Yeah, you're way over again, and I always let you, but I'm not going to let you go 3 minutes over with the same question 8 times, Senator.
Well, if
Director
you'd
Chopra.
answer it,
So
I
just
would-
like,
Chopra.
just like the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, there's other ways where there's requirements from Congress to collect data. In this situation, we took a lot of feedback to try and make it less intrusive, specifically based on the concern you're raising. There will not be individual consumer names sent. We can talk further about it, but we tried our best to implement the congressional directive faithfully and consider all of these issues.
Kennedy's concern wasn't simply about what questions borrowers might be asked, that he also questioned what would happen to the information after it was collected. Even if individual names aren't included, Kennedy argued that large datasets could potentially reveal sensitive information, particularly in smaller communities, that he wanted to know why the CFPB needed access to such personal details in the first place, and how the agency intended to use the information. Chopra maintained that the CFPB was attempting to follow congressional requirements while addressing concerns about privacy and making the process less intrusive. But Kennedy wasn't convinced. This hearing quickly became a clash. Over data security, government accountability, and personal privacy. Kennedy challenged Chopra over an insider data incident involving information connected to hundreds of thousands of consumers. Then he questioned the CFPB's approach to collecting sensitive demographic information from small business borrowers. For Kennedy, the central question was accountability. If a federal agency wants Americans to trust it with their personal information, shouldn't that agency be able to explain exactly why it needs that information, and how it will protect it? And that is what made Kennedy's "you didn't tell them for 2 months" confrontation one of the most memorable moments of the hearing.